Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be looking at some skills I've seen elevate pro XC riders to that next level and how to apply that to your everyday riding. Top level XC racing is a really rich and complex, challenging area of the sport. There are so many different aspects to be on top on. It's a tough nut to crack. Riders are some of the fittest, strongest cyclists in the world. They're some of the world's best descenders. And in order to kind of execute that performance, you have to be right on top of your mental game. So I've picked out what I think are a few key techniques we can go through today and just learn how to apply that to everyday riding, how to make you a little bit faster, save a little bit of energy, and just all round have a better time on the trails. To start things off, let's start at the start. This is obviously a really helpful technique if you're starting to race, but it can be helpful to have a good drive off from a stationary position if you're trying to build speed in a limited run-up before a technical feature, for example. The key skill that I've picked out today is actually, if your dropper post allows for it, starting with your seat right down out of the way, because then as you get a drive off the line, it enables you to throw your hips back and the bike forward. This gives you a little bit of extra power, and that means you get up to speed quickly, you can beat your mates into a bottleneck, you can get up to speed for a technical section, all in the best possible way. But if you don't have a dropper, or you've got a short travel lightweight dropper post like what you see in an XC race machine, and you can't get this hip action and get up to speed, what you can do is if you start with your seat up, seated, it can really help your consistency of clipping in, because your hips and your legs are held in the same position every time, and that can help learn how to get your foot in the pedal consistently. The same seat down scenario can help you on a technical section such as this, where you have to get up to speed well, get a good drive off the line, and that maneuverability on the bike. A lot of the time in mountain biking, you need to gauge your own effort. Even in a race, it's rare for it to come down to a bar-to-bar fight right at the end. And this means you need a pacing strategy. One that I think is effective is sometimes known as the yes, no, maybe strategy. And that's often accredited to Olympic champion cyclist Chris Boardman. You could apply Chris's strategy to any situation where you're trying to get the most out of yourself, be that a race, a technical climb, a challenging long ride, or even a hard descent. What is the yes, no, maybe pacing strategy? Well, it's the answer to a question you should ask yourself when you're doing an effort. Can I hold this level of intensity to the end of my climb, of my race, of my time trial? If the answer is yes, then maybe you could be going a bit harder. If it's no, it's too much, you couldn't hold it, you obviously need to back off, and maybe it's too late and you've actually overdone it. The answer should be maybe, I think I can hold this to the end if I push myself, but I'm going to have to see. And that's the kind of intensity that led Chris to winning all those Olympic medals on the track back in the 90s. A good example of this is in this season's Leger XCO World Cup, where you can see at the start of the race, the riders are fighting bar to bar. You have very little control of your own pace here, it's just going with the speed of the race. But later on, the eventual winner, Mona Mitterwallner, she reached out, she went at a pace that she hoped she could last to the end, and then she was off on her own, gauging that effort. A concept known as diet periodization can help you get the right fuel at the right time and then get the most energy out of your available power resources. This is about maintaining a rich and varied diet while specifically tailoring your intake to the phasing around when you might want to get a performance out. I feel like I should say, I'm not a nutritionist, but this is kind of what worked for me when I was racing. I discussed it a bit with my coach, and then we kind of developed good practices, but I never went mad with it, and we kept a healthy balance with everything. So before a race, I'd concentrate on quite simple carby foods basically, so cutting down on gluten and starch, fats, oils, all that kind of stuff in favour of rice and lots of it. So much less pasta, potatoes, oily fish. It's quite a boring way to eat, but just, in the day before the race, you get exactly what you need, that high glycemic index, carbohydrates is going to help you fuel up for the race ahead. You see a lot of riders eating glutinous rice, which confusingly has nothing to do with gluten, which you don't want. It just means sticky white rice, basically, and pairing that with something lean and effective for getting proteins in. So tofu or chicken is a really good example. Bit of soy sauce, a little bit of veg, and you're ready to go. So after you've fully fueled with that simple carbohydrate and fully digested it, so you're fueled up and ready to go, during the event, the most important thing is staying hydrated and with a continuous replacement of that glycogen stores with easy to digest carbs. So products are good, flapjacks you can make yourself as well, really easy to digest, and then making sure you have enough hydration products so that keeps the minerals coming in and you're not sweating it all out. I think fueling little and often is probably the most important thing for my riding on a technical basis as well. Like, even if I'm not going out trying to smash a race or a cross-country ride, if I get tired and hungry, my technical riding goes through the floor and I usually fall off. So that little and often fueling, it makes such an amazing difference. After a tough ride or a race is when you can take on those proteins, fats, oily foods and other nutrients that help promote good muscle recovery and give your body the healthy mix of foods that it needs. Burger will do the trick very nicely. You could have some cheese, other oily food, nuts, fish, and all that stuff that you cut out before the race and you need to then bring back into your diet. This is a pretty specific, tailored approach to a race weekend, but if you could bring a little bit of that mix of foods into your everyday cycle for when you're going to be out cycling, it can make a real difference to your energy levels. Transitions between climbs and descents are some of the most important places on an XC course or out on an XC ride if you're trying to carry your speed overall. The top riders are so good at this. They know exactly how far to carry on into a descent before you ease up, and that's not going to slow you down. This is something that's really tricky to do at the top of a climb because you're thinking about unlocking your suspension. You've got to drop your saddle, your legs are screaming, you need to compose yourself, but just keep going. The speed you gain then carries to the whole trail. Here's another example with Mona Missawarner. You can see as she approaches the left-hand corner, she's still on the pedals. She hasn't eased up yet. Even as she drops her saddle, she's turning the pedals to get up to speed, and only now does she relax and flow the descent. Descending with your legs locked out and even with the saddle up is something which riders do to recover better, as you can really relax your leg muscles. Having the saddle up can also help a rider carry speed through mixed up and down sections. It means you don't use energy doing squats and putting the saddle down and then standing back up again. Riding with the saddle up more helps you to learn different riding styles and different ways to corner and move the bike around, so just widening that skill set and getting more comfortable in all situations. And I think it actually does make you faster when you are using the dropper pose to its full capacity as well. There are different strategies for this. Some riders choose to use the descents as attack points and really get the most out of them, or others prioritise the recovery aspects, the straight legs, the chill style, and then attack the climbs. Another key skill in XC racing is knowing how to go the fastest for the least energy output. Even the best riders in the world have a limited amount of power, but they know how to use it in exactly the right places. You see riders knowing exactly where to make that extra effort, which is going to give you the speed through a whole section of a trail or a race course, and it can basically be boiled down to where it's hardest, try the hardest. You can see this in effect on climbs, for example, where there's like rolling pitches and different steepnesses all throughout the climb, and you see riders savouring their energy, maybe sat in the saddle, they're turning in easier gear where they're able to roll along fast, and then when the trail pitches up, they're getting out of the saddle and sprinting, putting that effort in, such as we see on this 5-road climb in the Val di Sole World Cup course. It's a really great example where it's lots of rolling sections all the way up, and you see people varying their effort to the terrain. You can use the same approach on a descent where you recover on the easy bits where the riding is easy, and then if you come to a more technical challenging bit, it's worth putting that effort in for more reward. Riding with an XC bike really allows you to be nimble and hop around, manoeuvring around and trying to miss holes on the trail. I think riding with a buddy on a bigger bike can really illustrate this. So they might pull away on like rough sections with later braking points. You can aim to carry speed through the whole trail, generate exit speed, not getting bogged down, so flowing through, and actually you don't get left behind. Riding with really fast XC riders shows they don't try and do too much, they stay composed and flow through entire sections. If you are on like a fast racy XC bike, you can't smash into stuff and just use your grippy tyres and brakes to get out of it, so you have to look well ahead, try and spot where you need to brake, and then just float through sections without getting into trouble. What I aim for is a high average speed riding style, so that means never stalling or coming to a stop in a corner, but also not overdoing it and trying to go too fast, but just a safe, consistent, fast pace throughout. So that's 7 skills that I've learned over the years, some of them by watching races, watching people race away from me, and some of them just by riding, absorbing, kind of feeling how to go fast. So it's not just for racing, it's how to help your everyday riding, just save energy, go faster, have a better time. And I hope you had a good time today, so drop us a like if you did, let me know what you've learned by watching the pros, and we'll see you next time.